Welcome into the Cheeley Law Review. My name is Ben Burnett. My guest today is Dre Tenille. Dre, how are you?
I'm great, Ben. How are you?
I'm great. We do a lot of these back to back, so he likes to patronize me. We didn't just record this 5 minutes before we put it out. Dre, what is accident reconstruction?
It's like the CSI of personal injury litigation. It's how we figure out what really happened in a crash and how severe it really was. Because a lot of people think that, oh, you're going really fast, so the crash must have been really bad. But speed isn't really the determining factor. It's the accelerations in the crash, like how fast you stop. And that's what really matters. And we hire mostly people who've served as Georgia Highway Patrolmen or GBI people that have recreated crashes in vehicular homicide cases. And then there's a Georgia Special Collision Reconstruction team. They do the collision or accident reconstruction for the state in criminal cases.
Are they available to anyone who requests them?
You can go out and hire a crash or accident reconstructionist, but I mean, it's an expert witness and it costs money. You don't need them for low value cases. You need them for cases where the injuries are really, really bad and there's some kind of dispute about medical or causation.
Outside of vehicle accident reconstruction, how else have you seen it used?
We've used it recently in a pedestrian case where a bus driver ran over a student on a college campus. We used the reconstructionist in that case to use a bunch of surveillance video and then laser measurements of the scene to deduce where the bus was, and what color the lights were, and who had the right of way, and all that stuff.
Inside of a legal case with respect to accident reconstruction or pedestrian accident reconstruction, as you look into that, so it's the math and the physics and the conditions and the weather and the acceleration and the deceleration, how many different points of view can you find in that courtroom? Let's assume that your side, the plaintiff, has one position. How different is the defense's mock-up of what happened?
Oh, it's usually the opposite. I mean, there's always common ground. I mean, everyone's going to agree on,
this individual is no longer with us.
Yeah.
And that's really where it ends.
They'll agree on the basics of physics, like action, reaction, and forces and all that. But then anywhere that there's not definitive proof of something, that's a way for people to change their opinion to fit the circumstances. And unfortunately, with paid experts, they'll often give you what you pay for.
Under oath.
Under oath. And but you have to remember that most hotly litigated cases, it's pretty close.
Most hotly litigated cases are pretty close. What do you mean when you say that?
Even though these two experts will come to basically opposite conclusions, they have most of their analysis as far as the forces involved are pretty similar, but the plaintiff will say that the expert will opine that the defendant was
doing any number of other things that are not included in this mock-up.
Yeah, and then the defense witness will say that, no, everything's all good. One thing that's really interesting that some of our collision reconstructionists do is they'll do a laser diagram of the vehicles involved that are like perfectly to scale. And then so what they can do is create simulations that we can show the jury at trial and back it up and do everything in slow motion. And people want to see what happened. I mean, you can only imagine things so well from what a witness is saying, but when you see a bus run over a 20-year-old, seeing it's a lot different than hearing it.
How lifelike are those when you get into a courtroom? Those laser diagrams and the mock-ups and the speed and the velocity and everything like that, how real do the programs have the ability to make it?
It's kind of like the CGI stuff from Jurassic Park up through now. I mean, a couple years ago, it wasn't terribly great, but it keeps getting better every year. And what you can do is use the simulation and juxtapose that with actual body cam video from the crash scene. So they kind of merge in together and you get a full story. And then you can end with it showing the injured person's damages.
I bet that is extremely powerful.
It is, and defendants try to get it excluded because they don't want the jury to know what happened.
This has been another episode of the Cheeley Law Review. Have a great day, everybody.